Hello again, and welcome back to the Slow Flowers Podcast with Deborah Prinzing, episode 513. This is the weekly podcast about slow flowers and the people who grow and design with them. It's all about making a conscious choice, and I invite you to join the conversation and the creative community as we discuss the vital topics of saving our domestic flower farms and supporting a floral industry that relies on a safe, seasonal, and local supply of flowers and foliage. This podcast is brought to you by slowflowers.com, the free online directory to more than 880 florists, shops, and studios who design with local, seasonal, and sustainable flowers, and to the farms that grow those blooms. It's the conscious choice for buying and sending flowers. And thank you to our lead sponsor for 2021, Farm Girl Flowers. Farm Girl Flowers delivers iconic burlap wrap bouquets and lush, abundant arrangements to customers across the U.S., supporting more than 20 U.S. flower farms by purchasing more than $9 million of U.S.-grown fresh and seasonal flowers and foliage annually. Discover more at farmgirlflowers.com. For each podcast episode this year, we also thank 3 of our podcast sponsors. Today, we welcome Roadie.com, ROADIE.com, as a new podcast and newsletter sponsor for 2021. Roadie is a same-day delivery platform that connects you and your flower deliveries with drivers already heading in the right direction. Roadie can handle the delivery of your fragile flowers and plants so you can get back to creating masterpieces or helping them grow. Check out the link in today's show notes for more details or visit Roadie.com. Well, June was a super busy and invigorating month, and I have lots to share with you. I'm recording the intro to today's episode on July 5th. Yesterday, my husband and I arrived back in Seattle after driving home from the San Francisco Bay Area, my car filled with Slow Flower Summit supplies, my heart filled with love for our amazing community of members, supporters, sponsors, partners, and especially the small but mighty Slow Flowers team of creatives who work with me. Oh, and my mind is spinning with ideas and inspiration from last week's Slow Flowers Summit, our 4th and best to date. You'll hear much more in the coming weeks as I share recaps and resources from the Slow Flowers Summit 2021. Suffice it to say, after a full year delay, the timing worked out wonderfully for an all-outdoor conference as we safely gathered at Filoli Historic House and Garden in Woodside, California. To arrive there, I departed Seattle on Wednesday, June 23rd, giving myself 2 days to make the drive south. It was a good time to be alone with my thoughts and to schedule a few stops along the way. One stop was in Live Oak, California, located halfway between Chico and Sacramento. I was lured to Menagerie Farm and Flower, where Felicia Alvarez lives with her family in the beautiful Sacramento Valley. If you followed our 50 States of Slow Flowers podcast, which was a series we ran in 2019, you heard a short interview with Felicia when I featured California, but honestly, I knew that 15 minutes could never cover all that she could tell us about her diversified family farm and especially about her roses. Now I had a very important reason to see Menagerie Farm and Flower in person. Bloom Imprint, our book venture, is publishing Felicia's first book this fall. The book is called Growing Wonder. We are so excited you'll hear all about this new project in our conversation and learn how you can pre-order your own copy of Felicia's new book. Here's a bit more about Felicia Alvarez before we get started. On her website, she writes, I've been farming for over 2 decades, and every day I fall in love with the simplicity and nostalgia of life on the farm. My mission is simple, to grow exceptional flowers and foods with distinctive quality. As a third-generation farmer, my favorite memories as a child were tending to my grandmother's farm garden filled with fragrant garden roses. Her love of flowers made me an avid gardener and now an accidental flower farmer. Today, I farm French prunes, garden roses, and specialty cut flowers with the help of my husband and 2 little sons in tow. After more than a year of recording most of our episodes over Zoom, it was such a joy to sit at a picnic table next to Felicia's barn and record live and in person. The ambient farm sounds only help to underscore that feeling of immediacy and intimacy. I hope you enjoy this conversation, so let's jump right in and get started. Welcome back to the Slow Flowers podcast with Deborah Prinzing. I have a very special episode for you today, coming to you from Menagerie Farm and Flower, and my guest is Felicia Alvarez. Hi, Felicia.
Hi, Deborah. I'm so happy to be here today. It's so nice to welcome you to the farm.
Oh, the farm is fabulous, and we are just marveling at how rare it is that I've been getting to do in-person interviews. But not only do I get to talk to you in person, I get to see your amazing rose farm, and I've wanted to come visit for a long time.
Well, it is really special to have you here, and I'm glad that you were able to on your trip. I know you don't always get this far down south, so it's nice to have people back in person again, too.
Absolutely. Well, we have lots to talk about. Felicia, as I said, owns Menagerie Farm and Flower. We're going to talk about what her whole business operation is, and then a little bit about her path and how she fell into flowers. And specifically roses, and a little bit about what's coming next. So some of you may remember a couple years ago, I did a 50 States of Slow Flowers series, 50 one person from each state for 50 weeks. I had to get that out. And I did highlight Felicia during California. She had to represent the whole state.
I know, that was a mouthful. And yes, I was here for the whole state.
But it was only about 10 minutes. So it was just a quick little soundbite. And so it wasn't, she deserved more. So we're going to talk about this. So Felicia, Menagerie Farm and Flower, you're based in Sacramento Valley. Put yourself on the map and kind of introduce people to what is your whole enterprise?
So yes, I'm based in the Sacramento Valley. I am about an hour north of Sacramento and an hour south of Chico. I'm right at the base of the Sutter Buttes, which is the smallest mountain range in the world for you trivia folks out there. It's a good little Jeopardy piece of trivia. My college roommate still to this day always says that, she's always going to tuck that one away in case it's on Jeopardy.
That's funny.
Yes. So I operate about a 100-acre farm. I have 20 acres that are not contiguous, that are actually from where we are right here, Deborah, on this particular piece of property. It's about 20 minutes away,
okay.
Which is planted into rice, specifically sushi rice. So people that eat sushi rice, you might be having some of mine here.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
And then I also have 80 acres here is the property we're on, and I have 72 planted in French prunes that I grow for Sunsweet Growers, which is the largest prune growing co-op in the country. My family's grown prunes or has grown prunes for a long time. We used to have a commercial dehydrator, which is actually, as Deborah sits here right over to our left, the remnants of the old dryer. We no longer commercially dry. And then I have a small nursery here on the property now where I specialize in garden roses. I do sell potted plants April through really November, kind of in season. And then I sell bare root plants the rest of the year that we operate here out of the nursery. And then I also have cut flowers. And I have about, I think Deborah was just asking me about how many plants, and I kind of lost track, but around the 5,000 mark of plants that are garden roses that are planted in for cut flowers. And then I have a barn here that we do workshops and events and educational opportunities for people that want to learn how to grow garden roses and also just other plants. I also do grow some tulips in the springtime, but they kind of just get my customers excited for the roses, and plus I just like to have something blooming here in the spring. So I have just kind of a nice garden area now that the grounds here on the property that people can kind of explore at different times of the year and really see the seasonal changes with the roses and with other plants here in the valley.
Yeah. Wow. So much going on. The tulips, I feel like that's a bonus because you also do mail order. You are already doing mail order for your rose products, so you're set up to ship. Mm-hmm. So how are you shipping tulips in the spring?
So we do ship tulips in the spring. And again, depending on the year, I try to time them as much as I try to time. I do outdoor grow. Mm-hmm. So as much as I do try to time the forcing and whatnot, I usually have tulips around early March, and then we can ship them through May.
That's cool.
With different varieties, early and late blooming varieties. But yeah, I do ship those across the country, and they do ship amazingly well. Tulips are a great flower to ship. They hold up really well.
I love what you said about having something to offer your customers, because as you've built the business, you have a mailing list, and so people are waiting for the news of what's coming next.
Yeah, so for cut flowers, our season for garden roses really ends. I say, Halloween, and most years we can squeak through till Thanksgiving is kind of like the final end date for us, really depending on the rain and if we have a really wet, kind of late fall or not. So really there's that November through April when the garden roses start again that, I don't have roses, and I don't grow. We are so warm here in the summer in the Sacramento Valley that I don't have greenhouses because I would really only use them about a month and a half of the year.
Oh my gosh.
And then it gets warm enough to do outdoor growing. So, I really just focus on the tulips. And then I always, I have a cutting garden here too. I think like most farmers, I like to grow other things. And so we have a little family cutting garden where I'll grow, some ranunculus and some of those other, beautiful spring flowers as well. But I don't usually sell those. Those are really just more for me,
yourself,
for fun. But yeah, the tulips are what I focus on in the spring.
So, okay. So your tulips are kind of, I don't know, I didn't mean to spend so much time on those. They're beautiful. I remember you brought some to the workshop that we had down at Rose Story Farm.
Right. I forgot about that. And you have seen the tulips.
Yeah, and they were stunning. But who's your customer, Felicia? Like that kind of help people understand the scope of your business.
So my customer actually really is almost kind of like, I would say kind of like two different people. So I have a lot of customers like for my cut flowers, that are wholesale, that are wedding and event designers. And that's really where I started. Like that was kind of my bread and butter is I had all the beautiful garden roses and all of the colors and varieties that people wanted for their weddings. And I started in wholesale. And
you were shipping like ice packed.
Yes, ice packed roses, and then also local pickup. And then I also have, a local wholesaler here that, works with me as well. So, and a delivery route into the Sacramento area. Okay. So it wasn't just all shipping. So I kind of started doing that. And then when the pandemic started last year, I was kind of like anyone in the business, March came and we had all these orders for tulips. And then the roses were right around the corner on their heels, getting ready for their first flush. And, the world sort of shut down and all the weddings and events were canceled. So I had all these beautiful flowers. And I thought, well, I'm set up to ship. And everybody was, in their homes, not leaving and wanting to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries and all kinds of things. And, they weren't leaving their house and flowers weren't moving everywhere. And since we were agriculture, we were considered an essential service because I also grow, food. So all my employees and we were all still operating here, taking care of the farm. We started shipping retail.
Okay.
So I also have a retail customer base as well that I sell cut flowers to. So I would say those are that's kind of my one customer base is kind of wholesale and retail. Then I also, my customer that buys nursery products from me, like bare root roses or potted nursery plants, that person is just somebody that really loves roses, wants to grow them in their yard. Maybe they're a florist that wants to put a handful of plants in so they can tuck them into bouquets for their brides. Maybe they're a home gardener and they're just interested in getting more garden roses or being able to have a cutting garden so they can go out and snip some roses and bring them into their house or give as gifts. So I kind of really have sort of almost like two customer bases, people that are that are professionals in the cut flower business, and then those that are just home gardeners, that are
rose lovers.
Yeah, that are just rose lovers, and they love roses, and they want to buy cut ones or they want to buy plants and learn more about how to grow them and grow them successfully.
So are cut roses like half of that pie, and the other half are the bare root and the potted plants? And so you're kind of like half nursery woman.
I would say about half and half, and probably by next year it might be about 70-30. The nursery is actually expanding in this last year. I think because of COVID and whatnot. Everybody was at home gardening. I mean, the explosion in the gardening world it has just been amazing. I mean, I don't know anyone that works in the nursery business that's not just going, we don't have enough plants. There's not enough plants. Everybody's home gardening. And I don't really see that, changing. I think that trend is going to continue. It was already on an uptick. And my business was already expanding even before all this happened. The
yearn to grow.
The yearn to grow, yeah. So, but yes, right now it's about 50-50.
Wow. That's great. So I also think maybe because you're specializing and you're kind of deep in one genus, you're like committed to roses, garden roses. Is that what you call them? Antique garden roses or English?
I just call them garden roses.
Okay.
Because a lot of the ones I grow aren't necessarily antique. Like they're not the older varieties. A lot of them are the new modern varieties. That may look antique in terms of their, the floret and the size, and the shape may look antique, but they're actually more modern breeding that has all that lovely disease resistance and whatnot that makes them a little easier to grow for the modern gardener.
That's so cool. But you still probably have more selection than a lot of just independent garden centers.
Yes. And I will say that that's usually why people end up finding me is I really do, curate my selection that it is the roses that I do grow here as cut flowers for professional, floral designers. And so I choose, varieties based on vigor and color. And, some of those, your local garden center isn't going to know that, that interesting kind of, peachy taupe isn't going to be as popular. Garden centers tend to bring in really, really bright colors. People want the traditional long stem red rose or bright yellow or whites. And you may not get some of those interesting, unique varieties. And that's kind of where I come in, that I really, I don't sell anything that I don't grow or that I haven't actually tried and tested here on the farm for a number of years. And I want my customers to be successful growing them too. And I want to bring them, the colors and varieties that they may not be able to get really anywhere and everywhere. And those trends do change as well.
It's so funny when you talked about the bright colors. All of a sudden I realized it's the independent garden center kind of shopper is similar to the farmer's market shopper. Like they're going for the primary colors.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the designers and the rose aficionados are more
they're
interested
looking for something different.
Yeah.
They're looking maybe for something that's more of an ombre or multi-tone colors or a unique bloom or whereas garden centers, and I love home garden centers because I'm a nursery myself too. So I always say, go support your local nursery. But a lot of time home garden, centers and nurseries will deal with sales reps from plant companies or larger wholesale nurseries. And they just buy say, okay, well, we want to order 200 roses, and they don't even pick the varieties.
Just bring us 200.
It just bring us. And that's what you'll see in especially big box stores.
Yeah. And also you're getting kind of the branded flowers, and while all those companies are important and they support garden magazines as advertisers, so I can't complain. It's sort of like we want to sell what's guaranteed to sell, and not take a risk on some weird variety,
a unique color, which I think is what's great about my customers, and that's why I love them so much, is that they know what they want. They're like, I love that color, I love that shade, or they're looking for those interesting and unique things, and so they're excited to. Usually when they find me, they're like, I couldn't find this locally. I'm so glad you ship, or I'm so glad you have this.
Thank God for the internet, right?
Yeah. And I really also just work on, I try to, our knock on wood, we try to do, our best to have the best quality. I mean, they are plants, and sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes they do fail, or somebody plants a bare root and, they send us a picture and say it didn't survive. And, that happens, but we really do try our best to have really top quality. And I think that's also what's sort of, in the last couple of years, what I keep hearing consistently from our customers, and I'm glad, because that's what we really strive for with our customer service, is making sure that the plants are healthy and will do well for you. That we really want. I want everyone to succeed.
Right.
And everyone on my team here does that. We trim up every single bare root that goes out, and we water every single potted plant and make sure it's got the right amount of fertilizer and everything before it leaves here. We really want you to be successful when you take it home, and I think that. Like some of the larger kind of big box stores, I think that's what's sort of gone missing from that process of buying a plant now, is that there's not a lot of that extra help and knowledge, horticultural knowledge that, so I think when people finally find someone, it's like, I get excited when I go somewhere and I talk to a chef and they know all about the food and where they've sourced it. And I think it's kind of the same thing with the plants.
You're like the rose concierge. Like,
yes,
I will tell you what you need to know.
Well, and I usually always ask people, I go, okay, like how much time do you have to spend with your roses? Because some, while I love all my roses, some I will say, just like my child, one's a pickier eater and one's a not so picky eater.
Right.
So, if somebody tells me, hey, I have no time at all, but I want something pretty, I might recommend a different variety. So I really do try to cater my recommendations just to their lifestyle and to how much time they have, because I don't want to send them home with something that they're going to go, oh gosh, that one, I needed to dead that one too much, or it was, too small or too tall, or I really try to kind of, play matchmaker and
I love that.
And find the right one.
Roughly how many varieties do you have in your catalog at any given time? Or
right now, I think at last check we had like 100 to 150, and they may not all be available. Like some are available only as bare root, some are available as potted plants, some are available as cut flowers, but not as bare root or potted. So it really
fluctuates.
it kind of just depends on, what part of the business it is. But yeah, we usually roughly have around that many that are available for sale in some way.
Well, we just jumped into your little, what you call it, a gator or something, right?
Oh, it's a mule. It's
a mule.
It's called it's by the brand Kawasaki, and they call it a mule.
Okay.
So
I was going to call it a golf cart, but I knew that's what.
Usually we just call. I mean, I think gators, John Deere's are called
so
gators.
We're
but
it's mule.
It's their mule.
Okay, so we drove around. First of all, the roses are so beautiful, and I took a couple videos of our driving around, so I will share those on social media. But I didn't realize you were 100% organic in your practices. That is crazy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you're USDA certified.
No, we're not certified.
But tell me about how is that possible? What does that require of you?
It's a lot of hand labor. I'm not going to lie. As much as we try to refine the process and, do as many things as we can, it's a lot of, especially with the weeds. You saw the weeds. Deborah saw the weeds today.
I'm not judging, because that means you judge me.
Are very, very warm. We've had some heat waves here in California last week, and then again we're actually expecting another one this week, and we had some early ones in April, which were unusual. So the weed pressure has just been really bad this year.
That's too bad.
And we just take care of that really with hand hoeing, hand pulling. We do some flame weeding on the edges of beds, but once we get in between where the roses are, it's really hard to use a flame weeder because it's just too close.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be, we do spray for insects. I mean, they are organic certified sprays, but we do spray. So we're not a no spray, but we are, organic practices.
We're using what's approved.
Yeah, what's approved. And it just can be challenging. It's usually just more labor, more.
Yeah.
It's just more. I mean, it makes with the labor cost, it makes that stem cost a little bit higher, but that's what you're paying for.
Yeah.
So
I think that's interesting.
So it's, but we do what we do because we love it and we think it's important. And I just, put up with the weeds, and I
think that's a good point. You kind of figure what are your non-negotiables and what are you willing to compromise on in terms of living with more bug bites or more weeds.
Right. Yeah. So it's, I don't always love the weeds, but usually we get them back under control, and hopefully the weather will be friendly. We're also just in whatever they were saying, like 100 and some odd year drought here in California, that we didn't really have any water. I mean, I have a weather station here on the farm, and our rain gauge, we've had 4 inches of rain this year.
And normally you would have about 15 or so?
Yeah, 15
I think you told
to
me
20.
That.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, that's since January 1.
Right.
So not, the season, but since January 1.
Wow. So I like to ask people their path to flowers, and I'd love to have you sort of give us the version, the shorter version.
The shorter version.
Because you've been involved in horticulture as a plantswoman for decades.
Yes. So my path to flowers was not so linear, but as I mentioned in the beginning, I did grow up on a farm, this farm, specifically prune farm. I farmed prunes with my family. I worked on our dehydrator. I went away to college at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and I studied crop science and agricultural business, and got my degrees there, and then went into the vineyard management and winery sort of part of the ag industry, and spent several years there. I worked as a vineyard manager. I was a PCA. I worked in a tasting room, and then my husband and I eventually actually had our own winery. So we kind of did a little bit, or did quite a lot actually in the wine industry.
Yeah.
Kind of concurrently, very shortly after I graduated college, or actually the same year I graduated college, my mom had passed away. So I ended up sort of being thrust kind of concurrently with sort of finding my own path in life with kind of taking care of my grandparents, who at that point were, elderly in their, late 70s to early 80s. And they had this, this big farm that I never had any intention of really taking care of or managing, because that was their business. And ended up having to start operationally managing the farm because my grandfather got sick it was just about a year after my mom had passed away.
And how were you, in your late 20s then, or early 30s?
I was 21,
gosh.
when my mom passed, and then it was
Felicia.
like that next year. And so I was kind of, that's why I say my story was not linear. I started managing, our farm up here, our prunes. And at that point we had several 100 acres. We had about 500 acres at that point, where we had walnuts and peaches and all kinds of things. And so I had aging grandparents, one that was just physically aging, like my grandfather just got very sick and went into kidney failure and, passed away about 2 years later. And then my grandmother, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, ended up getting, pretty severe dementia. And so, I ended up taking care of her for a number of years until she passed away, and all of at the farm at the same time. So I kind of had my own career, but was also managing, this family business for them.
Alicia, that's a lot. Were you, because your winery career was sort of down in the Santa Barbara area, right?
in Central Coast, so San Luis Obispo, Paso Robles area. And so I was driving up here a lot. Like I was up here, almost every week, at least once a week. It was a lot of driving. It was a lot of back and forth. Yeah. And so, both my grandparents have since passed away now. And so I guess it was about 7 years ago, we were deciding, what are we going to do? My husband had a winery, we had a tasting room in Paso Robles. We had a very successful business there. And, I was still driving back and forth up here to kind of manage, operationally manage the property, not day to day. And, I thought, I really like it up here. I'd really like to start spending more time here. And at that point I thought, maybe we'll spend part-time here or half-time here. And I came up here for about a week to do some cleaning in the barn. Deborah was just in my grandfather's part of my barn.
It's an amazing barn.
Trying to clean out some stuff. And I thought, I really like to move up here. And so we started having the conversation with my husband. And right around that same time, actually, it just sort of ended up, I think, I think it was karma. I do believe in fate sometimes. About 2 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. And so at that point, it was, okay, well, what are we going to do? And so we kind of decided that we were interested in, probably moving up here.
Where would you want to have your family?
Where would I want to have my family?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
And so we decided at that point we were going to keep the winery and just make this home base and kind of do the opposite of what I had been doing all those years, that, the wine business would kind of be something that would be the distance business. Yeah. And then I was going to come up and, move up here. And then I ended up, again, kind of a non-linear story, but I had some complications with my pregnancy, and my son was born early, and I was in the hospital for about 6 weeks, and he was a preemie. So we, at that point, then even pivoted even more and just said, you kind of, everything goes in perspective when they're like, hey, you might lose your life and your child might lose their life. And, I kind of said, hey, enough. And so we decided at that point to actually sell our winery and just focus 100% on living up here. And then my son was in the NICU for, a month. And then we had, about 6-9 months of really just making sure he was healthy. And, I just really needed to focus on that. So all of that kind of, again, I kind of believe in fate. Like I would love to go back to the NICU or back into the hospital with a, complicated pregnancy again. But I still to this day feel like it happened because it was supposed to happen. And that's what brought me here.
Wow. And so then was that 2014?
That was 2014.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And he's, by the way, a very healthy, rambunctious young boy.
Yes, he is a very, very healthy, rambunctious. Everything is good. He's a wonderful little boy. But that's what kind of brought us here full time. And then that's what brought me into flowers. As I was up here, I did not think I was going to farm flowers. For my college days, and living on the Central Coast for so long, I was used to greenhouses and poinsettias and, beautiful fields of stock in Napomo. And, I'm thinking, who grows cut flowers in this Sacramento Valley? This is crazy. It's too hot here. And my husband had, got a job here in the area and was working, and he had a friend of his who was a florist, and he came out here one day to pick up something from him, and he saw the old roses that my grandmother had, and I'd always tended to my grandmother's roses here on the farm, and he said, these are absolutely beautiful. You could sell those at the Mart in San Francisco. Would you sell them to me? And I was like, what are you talking about? And so he kind of put the bug in my ear, and then that's when I, sort of thought, hey, can I really grow garden roses outside in a field setting and not in a greenhouse? And so I kind of took all my knowledge in vineyard management and orchard management and thought, well, I'm going to do this for roses. And so my approach to growing roses is actually kind of, it's a hybrid of really an orchard and a vineyard.
How interesting.
But in a rose field. So that's how I set up my rose, and my production is less like a gardener and more like a
wine grower.
Right. A wine grower
Yeah.
or a,
Wine grape.
yeah, exactly. Or a pomologist or a, so that's how I ended up with roses. And so fast forward, like I started just selling the roses that were here on the property that, my grandmother had planted from the plants that were existing. And then, ended up adding more, into a more field setting.
Kind of snowballed.
Right. For commercial production. And it's really been actually what I love. I mean, I think about it now, and that, I loved working in wineries and vineyards, and I've always loved, the prunes, and this is where I grew up. But like, it's sort of like I finally found my niche, that because I graduated college and kind of went into a lot of, taking care of a lot of other people for a number of years and not
you
really so much.
postponed your own.
Yes, I
career.
kind of postponed my own, like, what would I have done, and this, maybe this is what maybe this is what I was always supposed to do and just do it later. So to those of you out there that say it's never too early to start something different or, change or pivot careers, I'd say do it if you can, because I did. And people thought I was absolutely nuts to start growing flowers up here. Everyone grows trees and
we're in the middle of fruit tree land.
Almonds and walnuts and rice and some kiwis, but pomegranates. But this is not a flower growing area, and so every other farmer just looked at me and thought, that crazy lady. And well, here we are.
Well, how translatable is the orchard or vineyard kind of method to roses? Do you just?
I find a lot of the practices really are the same in that I really focus on soil management, water management, which again, most home gardeners aren't out there like managing their soil moisture every day.
Right.
I'm really managing it so that I can get the most production out of my roses, which if you're growing in a greenhouse and hydroponic, it's a little bit different than like an outdoor management system. My field scouting for like insects and pests and all of that, all my years of experience doing that, that translates into into the roses as well. And I would say just operational efficiency too, for pruning. I mean, we prune a lot of trees out here every year. So being able to prune roses pretty efficiently, that people get very scared and timid about pruning roses. And when I tell them they can just go through with a saw, they just think I'm absolutely nuts. But, and an advanced rosarian would probably say, don't ever do that. But then I say, well, have you tried? Because most people don't, they haven't experimented. And that is one of the nice things about having a large field. And I do have a lot of acreage here that I can do test blocks and go, because people will tell me, well, you can't do that. And I go, well, I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
And so, the following year I'll take a block and I'll prune it differently, or I'll try something mechanical, or I'll, because
you have the plants to do it.
I have the plants to do it. And there isn't a lot of research in, outdoor field grown garden roses for production and not necessarily for, for the garden, someone that's growing it in their garden.
Right. But at the scale you're doing it.
Yeah, the scale, exactly, the scale.
So when you kind of reestablished your farm here, is that when you named it Menagerie, or had your grandparents named it that?
No, that's when I decided to name it Menagerie, and I picked the word menagerie because it's just kind of a collection of all the things that have come before and hopefully all the things that are coming in the future. And it really wasn't just a collection of the plants and the, whether it's the trees or the roses or the existing, ecosystem that's here, but also the people. Like I wanted to honor the people that came before, and then also the people that are here now that, my husband and my kids and all of the employees that work for me that make this magical menagerie.
I love that.
And so that's why I ended up picking the word menagerie, because I wanted something that kind of represented the diversity of what the farm really is. Because I am kind of it is a little crazy. I've got fruit and flowers and a nursery, and
you're the sum of all those parts.
Yes, I'm a sum of all those parts. And sometimes people, it's a hard time for them people can't wrap their head around, oh wait, but you have this and then you have this, and so
I'm like Mrs. Noah.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for you don't have a ton of animals, but that's probably
I don't
have
good. A ton of animals. No, as a kid out here we had a lot of chickens and goats and whatnot, and I spent too many mornings waking up to animals that the coyotes or other wildlife had, and I decided I don't know that I want my kids to have to wake up every morning and find it. In fact, I was actually just out where we were driving this morning in the mule. Deborah was walking around the back of the rose field, and 3 coyotes are just running around in the morning, and I love them because they keep the deer population down, so I don't have deer issues.
Let them do that.
Yeah, so I'm all happy to have all of the wildlife out here. So anyhow, but I don't have a lot of like farm animals. We have a couple cats and the dog.
Well, I like your tagline, "Growing Wonder." It just has a real visceral, positive, feel good response when I hear it, and I wonder how that came about.
Honestly, it was just one day my husband and I were sitting in my office, and it was kind of like the menagerie. We were trying to describe like, what do we grow here? Because we grow so many, somewhat of different things. And so he said, what are you growing? I said, I'm growing wonderful things. And it really was just off the cuff of like, cause he was trying to get me to brainstorm. Like, we were just brainstorming ideas, but that's the one that stick. And then we shortened it from growing wonderful things to just growing wonder. But we were trying to just describe what
that
do
emotion.
you do here?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm just trying to grow wonderful things. So whether it's, a peach or a flowering branch or a prune or a beautiful rose.
Right.
And that I wanted to, at this point is when we had kind of just started doing the bare roots. And I wanted other people to do it too.
Yeah, you want to emphasize that.
And that was really the thing. I wanted that energy to go to anyone that was buying, a plant from me to go, yeah, you can grow wonderful things too.
I love that.
So yeah, we kind of shortened it. But it really was he was kind of irritating me. And I was like,
you blurted it out.
And I was like, I'm growing wonderful things.
That's what our spouses are there for. Our partners do for us.
Well, and you know what? And he got it out of me. He helped me.
Yeah.
He helped me solve the problem.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Well, for those of you who are listening, you're among the first to hear that Felicia is authoring a new book called Growing Wonder.
Yes, I am.
Which my partner Robin Ovney and I from Bloom Imprint are so excited to be publishing and working with Felicia on, and we are going to have all the details for pre-order very soon, for sure by July. So if you really want to get one of the first copies, sign up because it will be out this fall. And Felicia, thank you for saying yes when I asked you if you'd be willing to do a book. I think it's dovetailing with the last thing I want to talk with you about, which is your education, because that's really the future. And the book is sort of a natural fit for all the other education you're doing. So can you kind of give people a snapshot of how they can learn from you?
Yes. So yes. And first of all, thank you, Deborah, for asking me to do a book. I have to admit, in the kind of middle of the pandemic last year, when I, got this call from Deborah, I was thinking, gosh, how am I going to fit in a book? Because, like everybody's lives, I had kids at home, was thinking, how am I going to do this? And I'm so glad I said yes, because it's been so wonderful. But one of the great things last year also about the pandemic was because cut flower sales slowed down, and, I kind of had to reevaluate what was I doing here with the business, and everybody was at home. I kept getting more and more emails from people going, what's wrong with my rose? How do I do this? Because more people were at home tending to their farms and gardens. And so I realized that there was a real void for practical rose education that I could give to people. So I started an online learning academy, which is just a subscription-based membership program. And it was just sort of an extension of what I did here on the farm previously with workshops, which were all canceled as well. I couldn't have people out to, walk around the field and show them how to cut and deadhead and, look for insect identification. So I moved that to an online community.
Is there a name for that?
I call it the Menagerie Academy.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Menagerie Academy. So it's just kind of an all-encompassing, there's the online portion, which is a membership. And then I include my farm workshops now that we're going back to in-person. I actually did one this spring in April. But anything in person kind of falls into that academy sort of umbrella too, because it's really any of the education. And then the book was the perfect segue to that too, because it's a lot of what I teach here, but a little bit more pumped up, kind of a little bit more. I wanted it to be really practical. I know Deborah knows, as we've been editing and kind of going through, like, what do we want this book to be, that one of my big focuses was I wanted it to be approachable to everyone. So whether they had a small amount of time, 10 minutes a week to focus on their roses, or they want to go gung-ho and spend 10 hours a week, that I can really make somebody successful. So that has been a really great addition to what I've been doing the last couple of years with in-person workshops. Now I have, information online that people join me every week, and we have videos and other things. And then, now back to the in person as well. And they can kind of get all of that really in the book now. So I can send it out into the world to people who can't come and see me here at the farm. And
we don't have a definite pub date, but it's September or October-ish, based on, how much writing you had done, Felicia.
I know, I gotta get cracking. Well, and I'm sure too, like everything. I mean, with just hard goods of, everything here, I know anybody that's in the business of really doing anything is there's supply shortages with everything. I mean, the little tags we hang on the plants, when people buy them here at the nursery, those are, back ordered. Like everything, my vases I ordered for Mother's Day arrived like a week ago.
Is that stack of vases? Oh my gosh. Well, hopefully you'll use them for something else.
I know. I think they might be Christmas vases now. So I know that, so I think publishing might be kind of the same. Like I think you'll probably be happy if,
Well, we're really lucky that we're publishing domestically. We
Which is
print in Seattle.
fantastic.
But I don't, there might be a paper issue.
Who knows?
To be continued on that,
Yeah.
but we're going to think positive thoughts. On the Academy, you have various levels. How do people plug in?
I do. So for the online part of the Learning Academy, they just go to the website and they can sign up. And I have a base level, which I call my Grow level, which is $5.99 a month. And then I have my Learn level, my Bloom level, which is, I'm gonna
Well, we can put it on the
It's
podcast,
around
yeah.
20 some odd
Something.
dollars, 28, 20 something. And then I have a Grow level or Thrive level, a Thrive level that is around $99 a month. And each different level includes different types of learning. So some you get a bunch of videos and PDF documents of how to grow. My Thrive group, which is my highest level, they actually get once a month we do a live Zoom class together where they can come and kind of share all of our garden and farm problems and issues, and we talk it all through together as a learning group. And then once a week for all levels, which I think has been the most valuable for everyone that's in, or at least the feedback I've been getting from members is they can submit questions to me, and I record a video once a week and I answer everybody's questions, and then it goes into the learning community and everybody can listen to anybody and everybody's questions. So it's become kind of a nice little database now of sort of just picking my brain of anything and everything. So I help people that are, beginning flower farmers to gardeners that just want to really dial in their roses. It's kind of a really nice cross section of learners. So it's been
awesome.
a really good addition to what I've been doing. And so that was one positive out of last year.
You were just open to a new opportunity or getting information to people in a different way.
Yeah.
And it seems to really, it's going to continue even though we're coming out of COVID.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I mean, again, that's what I was saying. It was one of the positive things that I wouldn't have occurred to me. I was again, too busy. I was like, I don't have time to do
an online course.
Or, so many there's so many people now and, doing online courses and I, this isn't a course. That's because I was like, I don't have time to film a course and do all that. It's not a course. It's more of a
hub for education.
Right. It's a hub for education. So it's, you don't have to sit down. There's not modules. You don't go through every week. It's really just, specific topics, and you can kind of learn at your leisure. And then I'm there every week to support you. So that if you've got a question, you send it in, and I'm right there with you. And then especially my Thrive group for those guys, we're a little team now that I'm invested in their farms and gardens, and I want to make sure that, I can help them the best I can. It's like having a, personal consultant.
A coach.
Right. Yeah. A coach right there with them. Just like you'd hire a personal trainer, I'm like your personal flower trainer.
Can people jump in at any time?
Yeah.
Okay.
They can join at any time and cancel at any time.
Yeah.
So it's I
a la
do
carte
have
almost.
a little bit of a discount if you buy a year at a time.
Sure.
So a little price break there, but you can just go month to month, and you can upgrade and downgrade too. Because I wanted it again, especially last year with the pandemic. Making sure that it was approachable for everyone, kind of wherever they were
That's
financially.
awesome.
So. It's been really great. And then I also still do the workshops here at the farm. I do
Right.
group ones and then one-on-ones too. So people do come out. Actually, I did quite a few this spring.
So people book a one-on-one.
They'll book a
coaching
one-on-one, which they can do online too. I do one-on-ones online, which is kind of part of the academy. You can book an hour with me, or you can come out here to the farm for a full day or half day, which is really fun too. I usually find those are mostly farmers that
Really
they really want it, and we cater exactly what they want to learn. Yeah. I do a custom agenda and schedule for them, and those are really fun.
It's so great that you're not thinking, oh my gosh, I'm training my future competition. You're not taking that attitude. You're just sharing all your knowledge.
No, because I guess maybe it's because I come from maybe the vineyard and, more orchard world that you can, when we had our vineyard, there's 4 other wineries just, within
next
the stone's throw,
yeah.
and everybody's got a different wine and it all tastes different, and it's, that we supported each other, that, would you like Pinot? Just go down the street. I've got a lovely Cabernet, but I don't have that. And so I kind of see it as the same, that there is room for all. And I really believe in local flowers too, that, while I do ship, and I did start doing that as a portion of my business, that if I can help someone in their local area be able to provide flowers to their local community, I believe that that's the direction we should be going. And the more I can help contribute to that, I think the better. So and really just also gardeners. I think there's more of a, I mean, you know this.
Yeah.
So flowers, I think people just want to garden at home and be able to take those flowers from their yard and put them on their table. And I can really help, especially with, not just all flowers, but really garden roses.
Yeah.
I mean, that is my niche.
Yeah.
And, how can I help you be the most successful with that? So, when you want to take a bouquet to your friend who's just, feeling down for the day, that you can go out there and you're going to have these gorgeous blooms to be able to share with them. So, I think that it's, I don't know, you're right. That I don't feel like it's competition or like I enjoy helping. I think I'm hitting my stride kind of in my career. I feel, like you said, I kind of put things on hold for a lot of years, and I'm finally, reaching where I think I was always kind of meant to be in the educational capacity too.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation, and just sitting outdoors, the cool breeze, hearing the birds, looking at the roses. I'm in a really peaceful place. So thank you for that gift.
Well, thank you for coming, Deborah. It was so nice to have you here today, and thank you for having me on the program.
Yep, and we'll share some photos. We'll bring people to Menagerie through the magic of photography and get on Felicia's mailing list, so when she does have events, you can sign up and plan a trip to the Sacramento area. And I'm sure you said people are driving up here from San Francisco. So
I have people come pick up plants from Bay Area, Oregon, Washington. It's becoming a destination, which I actually kind of like too. People come out, they sit on the picnic benches we have out here and just sort of enjoy a trip.
Oh, thanks. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for joining us today. What a lovely preview of Growing Wonder. You can pre-order your copy of Felicia's book via a link to Bloom Imprint. We'll mail it to you in September after publication. In the meantime, there are a lot of resources available to you at Felicia's website. So check out the links that I've included in our show notes at deborahprinzing.com for episode 513. Our next sponsor thank you goes to flowerfarm.com, a leading wholesale flower distributor that sources from carefully selected flower farms to offer high-performing, fresh flowers sent directly from the farm straight to you. You can shop by flower and by country of origin at flowerfarm.com. Find flowers and foliage from California, Florida, Oregon, and Washington by using the Origin selection tool in your search. Learn more at flowerfarm.com. We just wrapped up American Flowers Week, our 7th annual celebration, June 28th through July 1st, the original domestic flower promotion holiday. For all of you who participated, thank you for sharing photos of your beautiful flowers, designs, farms, and other special activities. It was fun to search the hashtag American Flowers Week on social media and see all that you're doing. Our botanical couture was the most extensive ever, and we've collected 12 floral fashions in our special edition flip book. It's a part of Slow Flowers Journal. It's free to read, and I've shared the link in today's show notes. And I'm going to say it right now. If you have any inspiration to grow and design a botanical couture garment for our 2022 collection, please get in touch right away. I find that summer races along so quickly that it's easy to miss the tiny window of time between now and the first frost, during which you can harvest, create, and photograph a wearable floral garment, perhaps to be included in next year's campaign. I won't let you forget the opportunity to promote your flowers and floral art through this high-visibility member program. Learn more at AmericanFlowersWeek.com. Our next sponsor thank you goes to the Association of Specialty Cut Flower Growers. Formed in 1988, ASCFG was created to educate, unite, and support commercial cut flower growers. Its mission is to help growers produce high-quality floral material and to foster and promote the local availability of that product. Learn more at ascfg.org. Thanks so much for joining us today. The Slow Flowers podcast has been downloaded more than 742,000 times by listeners like you. Thank you for listening, commenting, and sharing. It means so much. As our movement gains more supporters and more passionate participants who believe in the importance of our domestic cut flower industry, the momentum is contagious. I know you feel it too. I value your support and invite you to show your thanks to support Slow Flower's ongoing advocacy, education, and outreach activities. You can find the donate button in the column to the right at DeborahPrinzing.com. I'm Deborah Prinzing, host and producer of the Slow Flowers podcast. Next week, you're invited to join me in putting more slow flowers on the table, one vase at a time. And if you like what you hear, please consider logging onto iTunes and posting a listener review. The content and opinions expressed here are either mine alone or those of my guests alone, independent of any podcast sponsor or other person, company, or organization. The Slow Flowers podcast is engineered and edited by Andrew Brenlin. Learn more about his work at soundbodymovement.com.